Oh yeah.
Here we go, here we go.
What you look like
When you're doing what you're doing,
is what you're doing when you're doing
what you look like you're doing.
Express yourself.
What up, people? How you do? How you do? Where I be? Here I is.
Express yourself. You're doing it on the moon, y'all.
In the jungle too. Everybody on the floor now.
Jumping like a kangaroo. So let the horn do the thing they do, y'all.
Stop it in your bip bop. Stop it in a bop. Stop it in a bip bop. Stop it in a bop. Let me see if I can't do this here. I'm good, baby. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
Some people have everything, and other people don't. But everything don't mean a thing.
If it ain't the thing you want.
Express.
Hey, what's up, babe? How you doing? I just had to, I just need a little hype. Where we at, people? Where we at? This has been a crazy week for me, man. If you had any idea. What's up, Miss Newberry, Miss Di Dre? I'm just kind of looking over a couple of things. Just looking over a couple of things. Marvy, okay, that's what's up. Oh. Let me get it just a little bit more.
Express yourself.
Where you at? Where you at? Here I be.
Express yourself.
I know y'all behind ain't got nothing to do. Y'all still on quarantine. At least some of y'all are. I know some of you been running the street. Doing all these things you ain't supposed to be doing. It's funny, people have been calling me the whole time while I've been trying to prep for tonight. And things have been unfolding even as we speak, so I'm kind of like getting some things together last minute and redoing this and redoing that. So I tell you what, there's a couple things going on this week, and everybody knows I'm just kind of I'm blown away with all of this corona, but there's no way of getting around it. It's been used for a million things this week. Not only has it been pretty much dominating the news cycle, it's been dominating our lives because it has us on lockdown, it seems. At least some of us are. I got hurt playing speed racer on the bike, so I was going to be in anyway. So I'm so glad y'all decided to join me while I was at home. I appreciate that, That's what friends are for, Keep smiling. Oh. Anyway, let me go ahead and get started. And I just got a couple people here. I was late coming on, so a couple people already called me and told me they're doing this and that. So it's amazing how some people have touched base with me and decided to talk about some things. Let me do this. Might be a little bit better. Is that better? I know I could hear me better now. But anyway, Let me go ahead and just thank everybody for tuning in. I know a couple people running behind. I see a couple faces. I see a couple people that's tuning in, tuning out. This week has been dominated by the coronavirus and this nationwide quarantine. In some ways, I'm probably the worst person to talk about the management of corona because, you know, I'm a nerd and I have a tendency to do the morbidity stats on a daily basis. My assessment of the virus is both scientific and spiritual. I'll go back and I'll say that. Scientifically, I kind of wholeheartedly agree with Dr. Fauci. COVID-19 will dictate when it's time for us to get back to life as usual. It's not a golden day that's going to be determined by 45 or nobody else because it dictates how it's moving, how many people it's going to affect, and what have you. And I'm kind of going to go over some of that as we talk a little bit tonight. Scientifically, like I said, I agree with him. I just kind of look at this because my background is in healthcare and I've done papers like this. And being an executive director of 2 county health centers, one of the things I had to do was look at disease processes and conditions and see how they affected that populace, in that demographic populace in that area, because that kind of dictated my funding. So I was kind of on top of that. So this is in my wheelhouse, so to speak. I do this nonsense without even thinking about it. From a spiritual perspective, I just say that God has a plan, and we as man, we're always confused about what he's doing and whether or not it makes sense and so forth and so on. So that's where we are spiritually and scientifically. Simply put, I think it's one of the times when the voices in my head, the spiritual side of my head, and the creative side of my head are in total agreement. You know, we have to be smart. We have to practice good hygiene, washing, hand washing, and stay prayed up. God is in control here. So tonight, this podcast is appropriately titled Quarantine Madness, is how I put it. Let's flash back at this week. Things that have been unfolding in quick succession this week are things like the numbers. You know, it kind of looks like we had these explosions, and part of it is because we really just start looking at this thing and how it affects us. So there are 4 things I'm going to kind of talk about tonight. First, I'm going to talk about cases in New York and Cali, because those have kind of exploded, so to speak. They had real sharp spikes, which means one day we weren't testing and we had a flat line. The next day we started testing, so we realized a lot of people had the disease. So the numbers climbed exponentially fast, and this was a kind of a tick-off to those large areas. Then I'm going to talk about New Orleans, because some things happened in New Orleans that put it in the top 10. 43% of the cases of Louisiana are in New Orleans. Third, I'm going to talk about what I call a stimulus package. People are lusting over this promised money that's really our money to begin with, but the thing about it is we may or we may not get it. And lastly, I'm going to talk about commerce over common sense, or commoners, I'll call it that. New York and Corona. New York and Cali have the greatest number of cases. New York has the most cases nationwide, with 37,738 to date. That's as recent as today. I just pulled these numbers. Crazy as it sounds, there's been over 4,700 new cases. Also, there's been 19 new deaths for a total of 385 deaths just in the New York State. But we know that there's almost 20 million people in the state of New York. So 37,000 now, 19 million. It runs in line with how this thing is progressing worldwide. Cali has, when we say something like only, we use this number only because it could be worse. California only has under 4,000 cases, 3,829 total cases. 831 of these cases are new, which means we are finding out every day just how bad this thing has been. And some of these people realize, we need to realize, some of these people already had the disease or the illness, but now that we're testing and we're looking for signs and symptoms, of course, we're going to be able to identify it, Ironically, they only had, I guess I shouldn't say ironically, because in a state the size of California, there's only been 78 total deaths. In the last day or so, there's been 13 new deaths. And we know the governor has been aggressive about kicking people off the beach and enforcing stay at home. And now 45 has sent the National Guard there, so they've taken some steps to kind of keep those numbers down. But those people that were already affected, they're going to be presenting themselves, so the numbers are going to climb. It just won't, the spread just won't be as exponential. Now let's talk about New Orleans. Of course, I'm from New Orleans, and one of the things I wanted to look at, and before I could look at it, somebody sent me a story. The good thing about doing this, I have formed relationships with some of the people that come to the podcast every week. They'll send me stories, they'll send me tidbits, they'll ask me questions, either by phone, by text, or on Facebook or what have you. So somebody sent me a case on New Orleans, and it kind of went in line with what I suspected. Remember, this first kind of exploded back in December. We saw the first cases in October, but we start seeing things in December. Now fast forward, we have Mardi Gras in New Orleans, and people come to New Orleans from around the world. So it just makes sense that we would have a greater number of cases per capita, which means in a state where there's 19 million people and there's only 38,000 cases, and in a state where there's 4 million people and there's almost 3,000 cases, the per capita rises. So to date, there's been approximately 2,300 cases, give or take 10. New Orleans is a city that, with a population of about 400,000, is decreased after Katrina. What's crazy is last week this time, there was only 300 cases of the coronavirus that had been diagnosed in the city of New Orleans. So in the last week alone, we've seen the caseload explode by 2,000 cases. And this is happening some of everywhere, but it's happening in New Orleans, and I'll talk about some of the people that are most affected. But we knew it was going to happen, and talking to people back in the city, it was a plus and a minus. Nobody thought it was going to be as serious as it is, Like I said, I do the numbers, so I have a tendency to, not as dumb as your president, but I have a tendency to just look at it from a purely numbers perspective. Let's talk about worldwide. Here's how I do the morbidity. What I do is there's 7.8 billion people in the world, estimated as of last year. There's been just under 500,000 cases worldwide. In 190 countries, there's been 489,000 give or take a 1,000 or two. 22,000 of those people have died. 118,000 of those people are in recovery, which means that the chance of you getting the virus is less than 0.0062, a 1,000 of a percent. The number is so small when you look at it globally in the number of people that's here. That's why you hear people like Dr. Fauci say it's going to run its course and we have to just respond accordingly. And we're not going to be able to find no quick fixes and vaccinations and vaccines and medicines overnight. So we have to kind of keep it in mind. Me being a nerd, like I say, I do the numbers every day. 7.8 billion people in the world, 489,000 cases worldwide, 190 countries that have been affected, 22,000 people have died, 118,000 people are in recovery, and some of those people have survived. So that means about a third of those people are going to recover. It doesn't sound that good, but the morbidity rate has increased over the last day from 3.5% to about 4.4%. So it's climbed a whole percent in one day's time. And that might sound alarming, but that's because, and I know I sound like I'm doing a White House briefing, but I'm trying to make a little bit more sense of it than that idiot that's there saying, great, we had a lot of people, a lot of meetings, some good meetings, and a lot of numbers, some good numbers, and we're doing really, really well. No, I kind of break it down, and I know some of this kind of goes over your head if you're not into the number side of it, but I just wanted to give you some realistic stats, and I'm going to post these statistics, and you can check it out if you like. So I'm going to just kind of move away from that. Stimulus. For the last week, he's been talking about giving us money. It went from $1,200 to $1,000 to it's going to be based on how much you make in a family, and then it's this, and then it's that, and then it's if you part your hair on the left side, and if you have one missing tooth. All of these criteria that don't make sense. But the one thing that has been consistent, this is really going towards corporations more than it is the average American citizen. We suddenly see Mitch and 45 tag team to talk about getting money into the economy, and they're calling it a stimulus package. Truth be told, who's going to be helped most are the big corporations. Mind you, these are the same people who want to cut Social Security, health care, Medicare, funding to veterans, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here's the bottom line. If you're lucky enough to qualify for the money, it's going to be taxed. It's going to be taxed. It's not free money. So just think about that. Let's say, for instance, you get $1,200 and you're in a 30%, so you're going to be paying just under $300 taxes on $1,200, just to give you a rough estimate. By the same token, remember, businesses won't have that same oversight. You have a Social Security number that you can be tracked with. So when you get more money, unless your name is Pookie and you doing it big on the corner, they have a way of tracking your money, especially if they send you a check. So you're going to be taxed. Businesses, on the other hand, they have what's called slush funds. And slush funds, the quick and dirty is, a slush fund is a fund that a company gets this money. And they may say that this is going to be for feeding the hungry. And then somebody steps in and say, hey, we had a bad quarter, so we're going to have to take that money that we were going to feed the hungry with, and we're going to use that to offset some losses that we've seen in the company. That brings us to the second thing. So they're not really going to be regulated on how they spend this money. the losses that they've sustained over the last 2 weeks, 4 weeks, or what have you, they're going to declare that as capital losses on taxes. They're already getting tax breaks. Remember, Congress gave them a tax break and reduced their tax from 35% down 14% to 21%. So they're going to be making out 3 times better than the average American. So just kind of giving you some ideas. On us to get this money, we have to be under this emergency plan. And I've already touched on all the things that go along with this emergency plan, including and up to loss of our rights, and which means they could start taking your right to assemble. You're already being told that curfews and this, that, and the other. So you can lose all of those things. We can be under, now if there's a curfew, then we're talking to stop and frisk. What are you doing out here? You're not supposed to be out this time of night, and you could be jailed. You understand? So that's the loss of our constitutional rights. So $1,200, mind you. Commerce over commoners. I call it commerce over common sense. In other words, to stimulate the economy, we're going to sacrifice some people. How do we do that? This brings me kind of full circle. Those people that are most vulnerable with this coronavirus are the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions. Now you understand how all of these dots are connected. We've been talking about healthcare. We've been talking about pre-existing conditions and reducing healthcare and things like this. We've been talking about things like high blood pressure, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, and we know that this coronavirus affects the lungs. It makes it hard to breathe. Obesity, we talked about diabetes. All of these things make you more susceptible to the COVID-19 virus. Remember a while back, I remind you about prescription drugs, and we start talking about a little bit about certain drugs and medical conditions and how these drugs turn a medical condition into a chronic pre-existing condition, which means it starts to tax your body, attacks your immune system, it attacks your body's defense to fight off things like the common cold. So corona is like the common cold on steroids. To add insult to injury, instead of telling the public all of these things, 45 is just talking about getting the country back on its feet and using a religious holiday to do it. So he keeps talking about, he had this vision and he'd like to see churches filled to the rafters and busting at the seams on Easter. Then we see these other knuckleheads step in and talk about, they're 70 years old and they're willing to take one for the economy. Go ahead and drink that Jonestown Kool-Aid, not the kid. I'm not doing anything for somebody. I've already sacrificed my body. Now you're talking about taking away my, what you call entitlement, my rights as a vet. You want to take those away, and you tell me that I should go ahead and sacrifice myself again for your economy. Every move that's been made thus far has been to give the appearance that he's a great leader business-wise, and the economy is doing so much. But this is like a balloon, and it's so tense around the edges. Remember being a child, you blow a balloon up and it's overinflated and it touches a blade of grass, and that's all it takes to make the balloon explode. That's where we are in this economy. That's why we can't take too much. That's why he sees all smoke and mirrors and he's trying to hurry up before the smoke clears. This week we've seen the warning signs, so we have to pay attention. I call them Mitch and Don. They're like Abbott and Costello. Who's on first? They've never done anything for anybody that didn't benefit them. So why all of a sudden are they concerned about the public? Truth be told, most of you that received the stimulus will go out and buy products that will stimulate the economy. Some folks going to go out and buy Air Jordans and a new iPhone and a this and a that, and it inflates what's called the gross domestic product, all the money that's made in this country. Then you're going to have to pay taxes on it. Then those things depreciate, so you can't claim them anyway. Chuck Schumer tried to he's the Democratic leader in the Senate, and he tried to make sure that Trump and congressional companies wouldn't profit from the stimulus package. But truth be told, once the checks are written, it's too easy to reappropriate funds and funnel that money elsewhere. So this is what's going to happen. This is what's happening. I've been saying all along. And it's funny. I know that the things that I say have come true because you guys keep telling me, you said this, or you send me a story, or you send me something, and this, that, and the other. I feel like I'm Richard Pryor imitating the preacher. I remember being a kid, and Richard Pryor had this joke that he told about black preachers. And when he started the joke, he says, our text for today comes from the Book of Wonders. A boy is born in Hawthorne, Mississippi. And I said, hold up. Oh, okay, because I thought I knew the Bible. Never heard of a Book of Wonders. But the truth of the matter is that things that happen in life, and we try to convey it, or I try to convey it to you. And it's kind of funny because my aunt told me, she says, Lil Henry, because I'm going to be 900 years old and I'm still going to be Lil Henry. She said, you have a way of ministering to people, whether you realize it or not. There are things that come to me and I feel like I have to deliver this message to you. So every week I try to analyze, I try to predict, I try to forecast what's going on, what's about to happen. Within 2 weeks, everything that I discuss in my podcast, it comes to fruition. It comes true. How do I know? Because I said, when I turn on the TV, I see it on CNN, I see it on MSNBC. You guys see it and you send me these stories and what have you. The media conglomerates are redelivering the messages that I gave to you, but they put their spin on it. They shape the narrative the way they want, but it's the same soup, all warmed all over again. Nobody could have predicted that Corona would have hit the way it did until we ignored it and we helped it to spread. Now we have to do what we have to do to, do what we have to do for ourselves and our families to decrease the chance of us contacting it, us getting it, and us not getting sick, but giving it to someone in our family, be it a child or an old person or someone who's obese, and trying to fight it off with their bodies. So, as I said before, wash your hands, use good hygiene, stay prayed up, God is in control. 45 has nothing to do with this. Viruses are such that they run a course just like having a cold. And I'm not dismissing it. I'm not discounting it. I'm just trying to put your mind at ease because there are some things that we just have no control over. And this just happens to be one of them. In the meantime, let's stay focused though. This has been a perfect opportunity for those people that were sitting on the fence that says, well, I don't like the guy, but my 401k looks kind of good. Well, that's temporary. Because just like they give it to you today, they could take it from you tomorrow. We see that. We'll see it with the stimulus check. And I keep saying that because, again, when I tell you something that is important, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what I told you, and then I'm going to tell you again. Let's stay focused. We've got November coming. Right now, because of this, we have an opportunity to reconnect. But we also have confusion because we need to figure out who we're going to use to upseat this. And I hate to use terms like nincompoop and idiot because I give them a bad name. So we'll just say that this person that's in the House now. Let's not be fooled by a check. Don't let that be the reason that you vote for somebody that you shouldn't vote for. Let's rally together. Let's decrease the hate. Let's take our country back. Now that you're forced to be in the house with your loved ones, remember they're your loved ones. So sometimes you have to put distance between you in the house. I placed a ad last week. I'm sorry, a story. I posted a story last week of the increase in domestic violence because when we're in those confined places, the things that we used to do are now exaggerated. So we have to be cognizant of that. We have to be cognizant of it. In closing, all I want to say to you is use your own discernment to decide whether you're going to help contain this virus by practicing distance, whether it's Easter or beyond. Don't be fooled. Not for a few dollars. That's taxable. Do you really need a pair of Air Jordans? Do you need another iPhone? Do you need the new Samsung 20 plus 10 minus 5, whatever it is? Let's not be fooled. Let's keep our eye on the prize. November is what we need to be thinking about. They've taken this virus and they've used it as an opportunity to forward their program, to forward their agenda, and we have to just kind of ignore it. The only reason I brought it up is because I want to make some sense of it for the people that I care about, and that's each and every one of you. Who knows, in a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or so, whatever, we're going to be focused on basketball, we're going to be focused on football, maybe we'll be going to sporting events again, maybe all of these things will be happening. Today, here, there was another space launch. In the middle of all of this, we sent another rocket up into the atmosphere. So there's been a space launch at least once a month here. I know I'm not going to even go into it, but I know that it's affecting the weather and global warming and all of those other things, but it's so fascinating to watch. In closing, I want to do two things before I go. I want to invite you to go to my YouTube channel. I want you to check out the podcast that you may have missed. You can review some of those that you already saw. You can let me know what was your favorite. You can let me know what you liked, what you didn't like. Don't forget to hit click and submit. After this, you can, on my website today, on my page today, if you click on the picture, it'll take you directly to YouTube. So that's the link. On my page, you're going to see some of that, and afterwards I'm going to post this as well. So I invite you to go to YouTube, check out those podcasts, leave me some messages, check out the ones you came in late on, so like some of us people today, some of my friends out there. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to stay focused on this so that I could keep it short and sweet. But most of all, don't forget to hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. What this is illustrated to us is they have so much control. If Facebook were to go away tomorrow, how would we keep in contact? Some of us have numbers, each other's phone numbers. Some of us only became friends because of Facebook. So we need to have our eggs not all in one basket. I decided I'm going to start doing some things with YouTube. So eventually I'm going to start bringing things there. I'm going to start bringing all of these podcasts. I upload them to YouTube so you guys could check them out. During this podcast, I've had 2 interruptions thus far. So every week there's something that happens that lets me know that it's not smart nor is it safe to have all of my eggs in this basket. I figured YouTube would be the easiest place for us to go and meet and do this next week, the week after. As long as you show up, I'm going to be here for you. I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for just being who you are. But most importantly, I want to thank you for letting me be myself again. All right? It's always important. Love, peace. I got something to say. And I'm going to be here next week. It must be true because it comes in time and time again. So next week, same Baptiste time, same Baptiste place. I'm going to be here spreading the news, good, bad, and different, and I'm going to tell it to you like a TI is. So I appreciate all of the support. I appreciate all of this feedback. I appreciate the love. Folks, y'all have a good night. As always, I wish you the best for yourself, your families. Protect yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye now. Good night. Well, I said I wasn't going to do the call-outs anymore because some people show up on the screen and some people don't. But I see y'all. I see the hi there's and I see the hello, and I think you're awesome too. And I see all of that. I see New Orleans in the house. Man, you guys are fantastic. You really are. So, as always, love, peace. See y'all next week.